In our Odysseyware lesson for today, in social studies, we are going to be in our Unit 1, Great Lakes States in the Great Lakes region. We're going to be focusing on invention. In this lesson, you will learn that the Great Lakes States were home to some of the most important inventors in the 20th century. When you have completed this lesson, you should be able to recognize the importance of invention in the Great Lakes states. Our vocabulary for this lesson begins with the word assembly line. Assembly line is the organization of tools and people to make a project. Assembly line is the organization of tools and people to make a project. The next word is mass produce. Mass produce is to make large amounts of an item. Mass produce. The next word is operated, and it's not like when someone has surgery. Operated is the same as managed. Operated means managed. Our last vocabulary word is patent. A patent is a document that gives the inventor, the person who invented the item, a certain right for his or her invention. It's a document that gives the inventor certain rights for his or her invention. At the end of the 1800s and at the beginning of the 1900s, the Great Lakes region was home to a number of important inventors. Orville and Wilbur Wright were brothers who flew the first airplane. The Wright brothers operated a bicycle repair and factory in Dayton, Ohio. In their free time, they constructed gliders and other aircrafts in their shop. They were fascinated with flying. They conducted many experiments to determine the best design for airplane wings. Orville also constructed an engine for the airplane. Here you see a map of the state of Ohio, which is our next door neighbor, and where Dayton is located in Ohio, where the Wright brothers were from, where they first had their bicycle shop. You can see where Pittsburgh is located on the map over there in Pennsylvania, and where Dayton is located with the star. And you can see in the Great Lakes region, that red dot is where Dayton, Ohio is in the Great Lakes region. The first question we have to answer here is, which of the following are correct details of the early life of the Wright brothers? You may choose more than one answer. There are 3 correct answers. The brothers had other mechanics create engines for their airplanes. The brothers worked in Dayton, Ohio. The brothers constructed gliders in their free time. The brothers operated a bicycle repair shop. When the brothers had a plane they thought might fly, they took it to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina to try. They studied U.S. geography and determined that Kitty Hawk would have steady winds, a hill for takeoff, and sand for soft landing. On December 17, 1903, Orville and Wilbur Wright took turns making 4 flights. The longest lasted for 59 seconds. The two continued to work on their invention. By 1905, they were able to fly for over 30 minutes. The Wright brothers traveled throughout the United States, France, and Germany, demonstrating their invention. The ability to fly would eventually take another Ohioan to the moon. In 1969, Neil Armstrong from Ohio became the first person to set foot on the moon. Here you see pictures of Neil Armstrong, who was mentioned to be from Ohio. I just want to mention that on the Odysseyware website, in the caption box below the picture of the astronaut, it says Buzz Aldrin walking on the moon. I'm not quite sure why they decided to put a picture of Buzz Aldrin on there when they are talking about Neil Armstrong, since he is from Ohio. All right, let's go ahead and look at question 2. Which of the following is true of the Wright brothers' first flight? You may choose more than one answer. The brothers chose Kitty Hawk, North Carolina for the first flight. The first flight took place in 1903. Kitty Hawk had steady winds, a hill for takeoff, and sand for soft landing. The longest of the 4 flights lasted an hour and a half. There are 3 correct answers for number 2. Question number 3. Which of the following are true of the history of flight and space travel? You may choose more than one answer. By 1905, the Wright brothers were able to fly for over 30 minutes. Neil Armstrong landed on the moon in 1969, and the Wright brothers traveled through the United States demonstrating their invention. All right, we're moving on here to Henry Ford. Henry Ford, and another inventor who lived at the same time as the Wright brothers was Henry Ford. Henry Ford grew up on a Michigan farm. At the age of 16, he went to work at a Detroit machine shop. Ford built his first automobile in 1896. While Ford did not invent the automobile, he created ways to improve the way that cars were built. In 1903, Ford and some other people began the Ford Motor Company. They were the first to mass-produce automobiles. The company created an assembly line for car production. Instead of each person working on one car, each person worked on one part of the car. In 1908, the Ford Motor Company designed the Model T. About 17 million of these cars were made. Because of mass production, they were cheaper than other cars. The average American could now own a car. Suddenly, people could travel longer distances. Good roads needed to be made because of the number of cars. People could live farther from their work. Soon, suburbs formed around cities. Today, the average American family owns at least 2 cars. Question 4. Which of the following are true of Henry Ford's impact on the automobile industry? You may choose more than one answer. Henry Ford's invention of the automobile began the groundbreaking industry. Henry Ford did not invent the automobile. Ford's mass production allowed for faster and more thorough work. Henry Ford's vision to use the assembly line for car production revolutionized the industry. Question 5. Which of the following are true of the Model T? You may choose more than one answer. 17 million Model Ts were made. Ford's mass production allowed the car to be cheaper than its counterparts. The Model T was designed in 1908, and still yet, the average American could not afford to own a car. Other inventors. Many other inventors were busy at work in the Great Lakes region at the turn of the century. Whitcomb Judson from Chicago received a patent for his invention on the zipper in 1893. Until that time, coats and pants were made with button closures. In 1925, masking tape was invented by Richard A. Drew, who worked for the 3M Company of Minnesota. 5 years later, he invented clear tape that became known as Scotch tape. These inventions, along with many others, have changed the way that people live and work. Question 6. Which of the following are true of the Great Lakes region inventors? You may choose more than one answer. Whitcomb Judson created the zipper in 1893. Drew worked for the 3M Company of Michigan. In 1925, Richard A. Drew invented masking tape. Drew also invented clear tape in 1930.